Welcome to the Uplift, where we are uplifting our lives, uplifting each other, and uplifting our communities together. Thank you for joining myself, Cy Herrera, and Tessa Cy here, two women, two attorneys, doing it our way, and inviting you here each week to share in on the stories, advice, and life lessons we've picked up along our journeys that keep us uplifted, and that will hopefully do the very same thing for you. Now buckle in and let's get ready to be uplifted.
Hello, Cy. How are you doing this lovely morning?
Hi, Tessa. I'm feeling wonderful. How about you?
Good. I have started this thing where I'm an avid Instacart user just to save time in my life and recognize the privilege in being able to do so. But I have started adding notes to some of the items when I put them on Instacart. They're just like little happy notes, like, you're doing a great job.
Oh, I love that. What an uplift opportunity. How cool. That's perfect.
And it started because like I was looking for a very particular item that was hard to find. It wasn't
Mm.
obvious. And it was salmon with the skin on. And I kept getting these orders with salmon with no skin on. And I'm like, how do I make this so that people want to look at the little handwritten,
Mm.
the little note? And so I started making them cute and funny and positive, and lo and behold, it works.
Positivity attracts. I love that. That's so smart. And it's also like they deserve it too. How wonderful to just have a little bit of a random uplifting comment in your life. That's so cool.
Right? And then I was thinking to myself, like, it's so easy and natural
Mm-hmm.
for me to
Free.
like and free, and I do it so often with everyone else, but do I do it enough with myself?
Mm.
Right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like
Mm-hmm.
a really big thing. And I was listening to a lot of Lizzo, and after having attended her concert, it's all about, are you talking to yourself in the right way? Like,
Right.
are you ready? Yes, you deserve it. There's no doubt you're ready. But
Yeah.
it's those questions that we always ask ourselves. And I have this friend who was going through this decision about switching careers completely, right?
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
she's been in a career for a couple decades, like fresh out of college, and then decided, you know what, I think I'm into something else. That leap, right? And it's like, do I trust myself to take that leap? What
Mm.
happens if it doesn't work out? And then I said something to her that we have said to each other and we've talked about before is, what happens if it does work out?
Mm. Yes, exactly. Yeah, dare to believe.
Right? But it's hard. Like, it's hard when you're making
Oh
these
yeah.
like huge life decisions. And for
Oh
her, it completely worked out and then worked out even better than she anticipated because
yes.
the job she went for, she got, and then within 6 months, she got an even bigger promotion.
Yes, I love that story. And one thing that helped me when I was at that point in my life was my good friend, and I call her my spiritual advisor, once told me, one day you're gonna wake up and you're gonna have more than you ever dreamed of or ever dreamed of asking for. And I don't know why, but that resonated so deeply with me where I was just like, I'm limiting myself. I'm limiting what could be. And I'm doing it before anybody else is doing it. I'm sitting here just telling
Yes.
myself, no, it can't be and it won't be and it's not gonna happen. And when she told me that, or even just the fear that it might not happen, the
Yeah.
way that you think, or just that that little bit of fear that you let creep in to doubt yourself. Um, just having somebody say, actually, it's actually going to be incredible. It's going to be more than you even can imagine right now. Like I mean, that just lifted me in a way that I can't describe, in a way that, just carried me through. And yeah, I just wish that everyone had that moment of true belief, because it really is almost like you got to have faith, and in a way that you don't even know it. You can't know it, and it's okay not to know it. And honestly, it's one of the most amazing things in life, I think, is to not really know and do it anyways.
Right? And that's what I thought we might talk about. Is like, how do you have that faith or that drive or that
Mhm.
ability to just let go and kind of trust the
Mm,
process?
yeah,
Because I think we're so inclined to like doubt ourselves
right,
and
right.
see the
And
negative.
conditioned to do so, by the way.
Yes,
It's just yeah.
yes. And limit ourselves too, just like you said, right? Like we doubt ourselves, we're not good enough, we don't have the experience to take this role
Right,
or to
right.
enter this relationship or whatever it might be.
Mhm, mhm.
And, I hope that all of us have friends like your spiritual advisor that kind of give us that uplift, right? Because you need it because
Yeah,
you're not enough sometimes to be that cheerleader, right? Like you can't be everything
right,
for yourself. You
right.
need that support group around you to
Yeah.
push you through in those times when you do doubt yourself.
Wow. Yeah. What's amazing is that we don't even realize when we're talking, like you said something about talking to yourself. What are you telling yourself? What are you asking yourself? What are you saying to yourself? What are you affirming to yourself? And the truth is, when you speak things out loud with other people, there's a whole other level of consciousness that comes along with that, right? And when you're
Mhm.
speaking to yourself, it's a different plane, right, of reality. It's a whole different kind of like shadow place where you just are you're with yourself, nobody else is listening, and you might not even be actively listening, if you will, right?
Mhm.
Where you're
Yes.
you're you're saying things to yourself, you're messaging things to yourself, and you're not even taking the moment or allowing yourself the opportunity to really criticize, where are these voices coming from, where are these messages coming from, where are their origins, right? Because at the end of the day, those subconscious messages, they're fed into from everything, including your trauma, including, maybe voices of people that you don't even respect anymore, or you would never take their advice in your conscious life, right? But they're still there, and so, just like we question the outside world, we almost have to question our subconscious too, and it's harder, and that's why it's so important, like we always say, to surround yourself with people who are there to uplift you, and vice versa, and that you can really, kind of vet those preconditions that you have in your mind about yourself. I see it all the time. I've just talked to a friend who is brilliant, just nothing less than brilliant. She's doing some amazing things in the city, and she has a position that just doesn't honor her brilliance, really, is what I would say. and and yet she's doing it, in her position, regardless of her position, despite her position, not because of it. And I find so interesting in somebody who can be such a champion for the community, right? And such a champion for other people, and can lift up so many other people. I mean, talking about generational work that she's doing, really amazing work. And then when I talk to her about, her career path or what she expects for herself, I'm stunned. I'm stunned by how limited it is, right? And how little she is asking for, and how little she expects for herself and her family. And, it takes somebody like me with a big mouth and a big vision to say, what? No, you need to be thinking bigger. You deserve everything. You deserve it all. Go take it. Like, this is yours. This is ours. This is the community. And also, you got to, you speak to the thing that really drives people. And it's interesting, especially in my line of work with nonprofit work. There's so many good people who just want good for the community, and they often feel like they have to be this, like, sacrificial lamb or this martyr, and it's just so interesting to me, the dynamics that play, because that's what people, it's convenient for people. It's really convenient for people. If you are ready to just sacrifice everything and give everything of yourself, and you don't expect anything in return, oh man, you're ripe for the picking. And so we really need each other. We really, really need each other. And it's interesting, how much easier it is to tell somebody else, all the good things that they deserve than it is to tell yourself. It's just always amazes me. I'm still drawn by that. I'm just wow.
There's two things that your story made me think of, and one of them, being the impact of what the words that people say to us.
Mm,
And there's so many good things that come out of like positive, uplifting words. But then I saw on, I think it was Instagram a couple weeks ago, this comment about a 90-year-old woman or like 87-year-old woman, details, you know, who
mhm,
had her mother when she was like 4 or 5. She was, that kid who was exploring her mother's makeup. She put on her mother's lipstick, and her mother said, "You look like a clown."
mm,
And to this day, this
mm,
87, 90-year-old woman, every time she
yeah.
puts on lipstick, still thinks
Wow.
that she looks like a clown.
Wow. So much power.
So
So much
much power
power in
words have.
words. Yes. And it's so interesting how there's such a long history of people completely dismissing it, you know. I studied psychology and it's just amazing what people thought of like, oh yeah, like kids they won't even remember this. We can just do whatever, say whatever.
God.
It's
Oh,
amazing. It's
I
amazing.
mean,
But I mean it's also really tragic, right? Like the
so
trauma
tragic.
still exists and it's still real in our world. And honestly, like the other part is yeah, hurt people. That trauma, it's not like it's just contained in one person either. And I know this is a little example, but it's, what is she telling other women about
Right?
makeup? And I don't know, or like other people generally, like, or, how does she interact with people or judge people in her life? Like, how has that impacted her life and everyone else that she's touched? Like, it just goes on and on and on. And so, just as powerful as, positive energy can be, oh, negative energy, it is also unfortunately extremely powerful and extremely contagious.
Right. And I was thinking when you started talking about like under that martyr syndrome, I
Mm,
wonder how much of it is kind of this self-talk of either I don't deserve more or to truly give back, I have to
mhm,
s- not allow myself to want to succeed in my chosen field on a
right.
level that my skills could be matched at. Like, is it limiting or is it not even just limiting, but like cutting off your even thought above,
Mm.
you
Don't
know?
even dare to dream of that. Yeah, like
Right.
that's not for you. And if you think it's even if you were to think about it or visualize it for yourself, that means that you're bad. Honestly, that's what it really comes down to is it's about self-worth and it's also about um like a value system where if you want those things then I mean the messaging in my mind at least, I won't speak for everyone, but in my mind I feel like the messaging is that you're probably a bad person. You're probably a selfish greedy person, and I think those are the words that we don't say in our head.
Mhm.
We just tell ourselves no, don't go there,
Yeah.
don't go there, right? Because there's something bad there. And that's what's interesting to me about psychology in general is that these messages come through subtly but yet so clearly and so powerfully, and they take such a strong hold in your psyche that you don't need other people to beat it out of you metaphorically. It's already it's their seeds and they've been growing and they're established. You got established trees going on. Like it's hard to introduce new concepts, but it it goes faster, I guess, with new people, with seeing people doing it in a different way. Like I really believe like seeing is such a strong, powerful messaging system. Like just seeing, other people that look like you, especially doing something that you didn't think was a thing, that you didn't think was okay, that you didn't think was possible. And then just seeing
Yeah.
how they do it and seeing that like they are good people still. I mean, that was actually a big thing for me, believe it or not. I really was, where I was just like, oh, you can have money, you can, have a decent like quality of life, a good quality of life, not decent, like a good quality of life, a great quality of life even. and you can still be a good person who's helping your community. Like, honestly, this is something that I really had to go through where I just was like, no, we have to all be, I don't know what, just like completely self-sacrificing activists that live poor, live on the edges. Like, I don't know where all the messaging comes from, but I will say that I think it's one of the things that helped me through is like I think it's too convenient. I think it's really too convenient, for the powers that be, because if you really want to change the world, or you want to change your community, or you want something different for your people, whoever your people are, then, you know, I guess I had to just get comfortable with more power, which even when I say it, it still feels uncomfortable. But what's interesting is like the people with power are the ones making the decisions.
Hmm.
And I believe in people power. I believe in community power. I believe that you can find power in any part of the garden that you can reach. Like I believe in that, but at the same time, we're living in a world where power is real, and people with power get to make decisions that have real impact on your lives and the people that you love. Um so yeah, it's really interesting that you have to kind of think it all the way through and not just listen to your first kind of negative impulse of no, that's not for you.
It's almost as though you have to go through that analysis of what you should
Mhm.
be doing when someone else tells you something about
Mm.
yourself. You should be doing it for yourself too, right? Like, are the words I'm telling myself what I actually deserve?
Mhm.
But then
Mhm.
I guess, how do you deal with it if you are that person who is stuck in that kind of, I shall be, I shall suffer because my suffering is what's best for the world? Like, how do you get through that? I mean, what did you find that was there anything that tipped it? Was it hearing from other people? Was it changing the way you talk to yourself? Because I think
You
there's
know,
people have to get through that like wall that they
yeah.
put up.
Let me be really honest with you, and everyone here. Let me just be completely, no filters and tell you my real experience. And one of the first things that I learned from you, Tessa, was very bluntly, you said, I have a lot of mentors, and I make it a point to have some like white male mentors in my life. And I find that so interesting because, for me, one of the bigger impacts in my life have been, seeing people that look like me in positions of professionalism and doing things that I'd never seen a lot of people in my life doing. Um, and when you said that, I thought it was kind of strange and funny. And I just thought, why? Like, what do especially older white men, like, what are they gonna give me? Like, I'm looking for like the brown radicals in the world that, like, what are they doing is
Mhm.
what I'm always been interested in. And I'm like, why should I pay attention to these people that I feel like are, I don't know, that haven't, served my community in any significant way that is positive. And in my mind, that was my perception at the time. That really was my thought at the time, where it was like a kind of simple us versus them situation, not where I thought all white people were bad or anything like that. Just that, they're have and have nots, and we were have
Yep.
nots. And that's
Mhm.
that's just the way that you think about it when you're a have not. You just think like there's good and bad, and it's very that. So when you said that, I thought it was interesting, and I thought about it, and I thought, well, I started doing this analysis, and I mean, I have to give credit also to some of my DEI training, and I should actually say anti-racism training, honestly. It's not DEI training, it was really anti-racism training that kind of pushed me even farther, where I understood all the concepts of race and racism in the country and in the world, I guess. And when they talked about the simple exercise of doing a power analysis, it was really helpful for me because it talked about power in a way that I never really I just never really seen it in that kind of format, in that kind of structure. What they talked about was not just, getting power against the greater power, right? It's always been a thing in my mind where it's like the little guy versus the big guy. We're the little guy. And there's this, big unknown thing that we're trying to fight or overcome. And what they did with the power analysis was so beautiful because it was literally like you all have power, everyone in this room. And it was a very diverse group of people, meaning, people of all different professions, creeds, colors, race, all that. Like everybody's in the room in the city that was just from a very different background. And they just challenged us all to think about what power do you have, because so many people felt powerless, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially at a time when so much was going on that felt big and unsurmountable. And they challenged us to just say, what power do you have? And every time somebody would say something to the effect like, oh, I don't have much power, I'm just a clerk, or I don't have much power, I'm just of this or that. I was an attorney at the time, a staff attorney for a nonprofit organization for folks, dealing with domestic violence, intimate partner violence, sexual assault, and stalking. And when they told me that, I mean, I have to be honest, like I didn't really think about my power at that time. I just thought I'm doing services, I'm offering these services, I'm providing, what I can through my education, and that's it. And that kind of the beginning and the end of that right there. And when they told me that, I was like, oh yeah, I do get to decide like whose cases I take and who gets this free legal service, when other people are not getting that. And it can be life changing. And that's just a small example of like in that moment, I thought, oh, yeah, I recognize this power. And I started looking around and about everyone else and understanding that everyone is a gatekeeper, everyone has this power situation. And so, with that, and with your insight about, thinking about who you're learning from. Um, when I started working with people who, did look different than me, maybe white people that have money that have a different life experience than me, and understanding how they have power and they're using that power for good, all of that kind of culminated for me where I realized like you can have power, and the more that you have, and if you're a good person that wants to do good with it, you can do good with it. And here are examples. So again, I had to see it. I really had to see it and say it is real. I can see this in other people, they are doing it, that means I can do it. And that has been, in a nutshell, my relationship journey with power and money, honestly. And it all kind of started with the idea that like it's okay, it's okay to learn from people that have power and money, and see how they use it, and then you can do whatever the hell you want with it. That's what's great about it. That's what's great. Like, let me just bring this back to the example with my friend who, she wants a promotion, but she only was thinking, like one little baby step forward. And I was
Yeah.
thinking, of course, like you should be running this whole damn thing. But what's funny is that, with that dynamic, I was telling her, why not be the boss? I just want to ask questions. Why not? Why not you? Right? Like why not? Like let's challenge these like limiting thoughts that you have right off the bat. Like why not? Why not you? And you know what she told me? She said, "Well, I really like to work with the community. I like being in it. I like being on the ground, et cetera, right?" And I told her, the beautiful thing about being the boss is you can do whatever the hell you want. And that's kind of my mindset now, where it's like if you want to do that, you can, when you have the autonomy, when you have the freedom, really, right? When you have the authority that is given in one way or another, taken in one way or another, you get to choose. And that's the beauty of getting to this place where now I don't think about it as even, trying to gain, or especially not hoard money and power, but rather, seeking liberation in a way where you get to choose really what you do. And that's kind of the most interesting thing that I've found, is that when I say power, it makes me uncomfortable because it was a bad word. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was people using power over our communities, people using power over our bodies, people using power over, and that's abuse, right? And so we're all touched by that, and I would say traumatized by that. And so power is a bad word or it was a bad word in my mind. And now I just think about it beyond power. It's really the only, in my mind, the only path to have to find true, liberation, freedom is when there's nobody that is able to have power over you. And so that's why I'm just, I'm just looking for ways. This is what I'm doing right now in my life. I'm looking for more ways to be the gatekeepers, right? To put the right people in those places, to be the gatekeepers, to
Mhm.
be the people who, wield the power that exists in our society. Because if you have good people with, with all the right, not just intentions, but all the right values, right, and the right passions, and they have the community at heart, if they're the ones that are the gatekeepers, we're gonna open the floodgates and it's gonna be a good thing. And so that's where I am, where I've had this whole little journey of I don't want it, don't need it, I'm not that person, I'm not greedy. So I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it for the community. Let's get all of this for all of them, right? And so that was my journey. And it still is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly believe that representation matters, but I'm also such like a data nerd, and I'm thinking back
Mhm.
on why I gave you the advice that I did. And
Mhm.
I remember reading like, oh, maybe fresh out of law school that, diverse groups tend to lift each other up, right? Like because you
Mm.
see the benefits and differences on how people see ideas. And
Right.
I think now they show that if you have a diverse group of friends, including like socioeconomically diverse, it lifts the entire group up.
Right, 100%. So true.
And
And
I,
even as you say that, I'm thinking about different rooms I've been at boards, like we're trying to do different things with our board memberships now, right? That
mhm,
it doesn't just look like a bunch of rich people, truly.
mhm.
And it's true, so we'll be going on a thought and somebody will be like, "Oh no, that's not gonna, that's not gonna do it. That's not gonna be a thing. That's not gonna translate to this community." And we're like, "Yeah, you're right." And if it's not for somebody with that perspective, who knows where you'll land? You'll just keep going into a place of oblivion, right? That doesn't make sense. So you're so right about that. So right. Mhm.
I was thinking about like how did I end up at that point where I'm giving
Mm.
you that advice? I mean,
Mhm.
it was great advice, and I still stick.
Mhm.
But I think it's because always felt so on the outside as a foreigner, and
Mm.
I always challenged like, who made up these rules?
Right.
Certainly
Right.
wasn't me who made up these rules. Like I remember my younger brother telling me, quote, "You're in America now, speak American." And I'm like, I don't know how this sits with me. But there's
Thank you.
so many rules that were made up by so many people that weren't us, and so many rules that why do they even exist today?
Mm.
And so my way of dealing with that as like a nerd was data, read about studies, but I was also very much as a younger person into reading Sun Tzu and the Book of Five Rings and the Havamal that the Vikings used that were all like, how do you manage power? How do you recognize power? How do you stop it from becoming evil? Those type
Mm.
of things. And
Mm.
so I think that's why I sought out white male mentors because for me it was these are the people making decisions and had been making decisions. I
Yeah.
have to know what they're thinking and
Mm.
got us to this place, right? Like,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then how
It's
can
almost
I
like an
use?
anthropological study. Like, let me
Yeah,
study these ones.
right. Like,
I love that scientific base.
and that's like how I've always been like. It even started with simple things like what is it? Networking. I'm like, this sounds
Mhm.
ridiculous. Like
Right.
if you actually describe networking to say somebody who is not from the US, they'd be like, okay, so you mean just like talking to your friends and then meeting new people.
Right. Right.
And here in the US, of course, it's turned into like, you
It's like
know,
a sport.
it is like it is extreme sport. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow. So I just as a young like professional, I was like, how do I, as somebody who thinks this idea is totally stupid, get past that in a way that how could I good at to get to the next level? And I knew that attending a lot of like was not in it for me, right? Like I didn't want to be around a bunch of people getting drunk. It did nothing for me. And so I became a vicious note taker. Like every time I would talk to somebody and I learned something new, whether it was like, they like the color green, their birthday is in June, whatever it was, I would take the note and I would add it to my contacts so that I have all these notes on people of like things that they like and things that they want to achieve so that I could be the person who always talked about something positive to them because I paid attention and listened to it, even though I had to write it down because let's face it, how can we remember all these details about everybody?
Right, right.
You got to write them
Exactly.
down so you have like a reference point because you don't want to say, "Oh, how's your son Daryl?" when they have a daughter named Frances,
Mhm.
right? You're like you don't want to
Mhm.
be that person making that mistake. Like, so data, being a nerd, keeping a lot of notes, and
Yeah,
also thinking of this like kind of life experience in the professional world as almost a social experiment.
right.
It works.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
find your route and lean into it. Even though I'm not a fan of this whole, you know, lean in book, but embrace who you are, right? And
Right,
embrace your
right.
strengths. And even
Yeah.
those strengths that a lot of people tell you are negative or nerdy or whatever they might be. Or think of Lizzo. How many people would have said, "Oh, well, you're a flute player. Naturally, you're going to become this, global phenomenon," right? Like,
Nobody told
find
her
it.
that,
Find it
yeah.
and lean
Right,
into it and be
yeah.
that person.
Yeah, I love that message, and I love the whole, like, that I know a lot of people have said this, and I never say it the right way or the way that others have said it, but it's just a matter of, like, taking, what people say are your weaknesses and just knowing that they're your strengths, like, what makes you unique is what makes you strong, and I even
Yeah.
think about, like, the fact that, there's, yeah, well, first off, when you were talking about Lizzo, it made me think of, like, having vision, and
Mhm.
it's one of the qualities that I have that I looking back, it's interesting to me to like observe how people would make it a bad thing, or they would try to message to me that it was a bad thing. I never believed them. But
Good for you.
but I remember them, like, kind of trying to just, like, tamper it down, like, be like, or even if they didn't say, like, the vision is a bad thing, they would just be like, "Well, we're not gonna we can't support this, or we can't give you anything to do it," which, is just their limiting mindset, honestly. And so what I found interesting about what you said there with those, I was just thinking about how, there was probably nobody else in the world, in the entire world, that had the vision of who she is
Mhm.
today, but maybe
Yeah.
she did, right? Because there's only
Yeah.
one way to get there, and it's to really visualize it and work every day to get closer to that visualization. And for me, it's like she had to have this vision. And I think she really did, because as soon as, her opportunities came about, she knew exactly what she was going to do. She knew, I mean, it was such a fully formed in my sitting where I'm sitting, where I don't know Lizzo, but I see her, it feels like it appears to me that she knew exactly what she was going to do. And once she just got that once she got there, once she got the world to open up to it, right? And I really take, inspiration from that, because, you know, she lived in her car, for God's sake. Like,
Yeah.
she was in the struggle. And I think, we've all been there in a way, and one we've all had our struggle in one way or another. And
Mhm.
and a lot of times it's not physical. We might have everything we need, to meet our bodily needs, our human needs, but maybe we are in a mental struggle, right? Like, maybe we are in a struggle of worthiness, right? Maybe we are in a struggle of being able to see ourselves as stepping into something great. And I can't say it enough, but the world is telling us to leave our dreams, and that dreams are just dreams, and they're just telling us that we're not worthy of that vision. And what I will say is, like, Lizzo had this vision, and I'm sure a million people told her no. And I'm sure that, the world told her no with every little subconscious thing like we talk about.
Mhm.
And she held on to that vision of greatness for herself, and that's the only way to get there is to visualize it and to hold on to it no matter how many people try to rip it from you. You have to hold on tight and you have to keep clawing your way to it. It won't be easy. And I do think that there's going to be so many of those times along that journey that we talked about where you have to take a leap of faith where you do not know. You do not, there's no way to know, there's no safety net. There's no way to look around and say, "Oh, it's going to be fine." You just don't know. And so sometimes you're going to have to take those leaps. And that letting go though, that's really where I think the faith comes in, where you have that vision, you hold on to it and you really choose to believe in it because it's a choice and it's not easy. It's not an easy choice. All of society tells you to what? Be safe, do the safe
Mhm.
thing, get the job. And we used to have some things that look like safety, with living wages and pensions and not to nostalgia, be nostalgic about the past and how perfect it was. It was never perfect. But there were some things that felt like more security than they do today,
Yeah.
frankly. And now I feel like I look around, I don't even see much of that. And so, in my mind, honestly, my generation, I'm a millennial. So so many sad things to say about millennials, but so many hopeful things. And, so many people looking back on the way things used to be for security, retirement, all of that. You can't say those things for my generation. And so for me, I feel a lot of times like, what do I have to lose? All I have is to gain. Like I'm not giving up the safety and security of a long retirement and all. I'm not. It's probably not there for me. So I have to make it and I have to find a way to make it happen for me. And I have nothing to lose. I have everything to gain. And so I don't know if it's easier for me in that regard, but I can say that it's still scary as hell. And and the messaging is still there to do what society perceives as the safe thing, the safe route. But I really all of this has made me um, think about where my influences come differently. And now I'm reading books about people who, are in investment world and finance and all of this. And I'm just like, who am I? I would have never ever, I mean, in all through my, what, I don't know how many years I went to school, 16 years or something. In all of those years, I never ever was attracted to the money, the finance stuff, the economic stuff, all of that stuff, taxes, all of that jazz. To me, that was a whole different world that I didn't belong in. That's what I find so interesting because every time I go and explore a new world that I don't think I belong in, something amazing happens. Something amazing happens in that world. I go and explore it and I realize, "Oh, oh, I should have came here sooner." I should have came here sooner. Like, what was I afraid of? Why was everything in my being telling me, "No, don't go there." Right? That's not for you. You don't belong there. Every time I do it, I think, "Oh, this world needs me, and I need it, and I need it to build a bridge from this one to that one." And that's how I see my purpose now, and that's how I know, and, it doesn't it I it doesn't say anything about what I believe except to say that, it's interesting to me now, my background. It feels like there's meaning to it, and I don't know why, but it just feels like it's led into my purpose. Like all the things that I've been through, the way that I grew up, all the struggles, seeing a lot of suffering in my community. I never understood it. I would just be sad about it and be angry about it, frankly, and that's driven a lot of what I've tried to do in my life is just to address that and try to remedy it and try to help people because they're suffering. And now I see it as like, oh, I needed that. That was an entire education onto itself. And it's something that's, so ingrained in me. How could I ever forget it? I will never forget it, you know? And so yeah, that journey is gonna be different for everyone. I recognize that. But I will say, there are some common themes that apply to everyone. And I think one of them is like, go to that place that you think you're not supposed to. Like question everything. Go to that, go into that field or meet that person or talk to that person or learn from that person who you think has nothing to do with you and your life because we are all connected. That's what I will really take away from it. That's what society is. It's just a whole series of connections. And so um yeah, don't leave any world unexplored if you care about having impact. Yeah.
I think something that it took me a long time to learn is that also share where you want to go. Like share your ideas and
Yes.
share
Oh, yeah.
share where you're going and what you want to achieve.
Yep.
I for so long like protected it and
Mm.
did not want to talk about it
Like it's a
because I
secret.
didn't
It's a secret
that
agenda.
or working in politics is just, it's a place where everybody just wants to stab you in the back a lot of the times.
Right.
And so
No,
I
yeah.
didn't want to vocalize it in a way of
And
this
they
was
could use
my
it against you. Yeah, that's
right.
valid.
How do
Mhm.
I avoid that? But now I've realized there is a lot more power
Mm.
in speaking what you want to achieve, and it helps you fine tune your message. It helps you get new ideas. You'll talk to people who can help you along the way, and not because you've asked for help, but because they want to help you. And I think
Mhm.
that's the key, right? Like I discovered that talking about what I want to achieve and talking about how I see things has only led to more people finding ways
Yep.
to help with that because they too are like, yeah, I'm totally into that vision.
Yep.
I want to figure out how to make it happen for her because while I'm not going to do it because I have my own vision,
Right.
I think somebody else should.
And they might
And
wanna
it's
be a
not
part of it too. That's what's interesting is, like, you can't make up other people's minds for them. That's another big
right.
interesting lesson is, like, you can't we again, the ways that we hold ourselves back is amazing. It's
Yes.
astonishing, but it's like, literally, I have just been even now, I've just been forcing myself, even though I've learned that lesson, I have to learn it over and over again, and because it feels scary every time. Every
Yep.
new time, it feels scary. Like, right now, I'm working on new things that I feel like I have no business being in, and I embrace imposter syndrome so much now, where I'm just like, "Let me in." Jamila Jamil, I think, is the one who says something like, "Pretend that you're just crashing a wedding, and you're just trying to grab as much shrimp and champagne as you can." Like, but
Yep.
I just think it's so real that, like, you have to embrace that feeling of feeling like you don't belong, and flip it on its head where it's like, if I don't
Yeah.
belong, if you're telling me I don't belong, then it's even more important that I be here, right? And then, and then overcoming that little bit of fear, that little voice that tells you not to share what you really care about, that is such a big lesson, so key. I mean, that if nothing else, if you take nothing else from what we say, oh, that is a big one, is to share what you are aspiring to do and to be. Share it with everyone that you will listen, honestly, with everyone, because again, that interconnectedness is so real in society, and you have no idea. There's no way that you could ever assess what one person could do and how one person could change your life. And if you just decided not to tell that one person what you're trying to do, that might have been the person, to just set a chain of events into motion. So that is such a good life lesson that I live by all the time.
And I think if you're the type of person like me who mm, don't want to say gets off on defying authority, but let's just
But
say
it is that.
like, if you tell me no, I'm probably gonna do it
Yes,
twice with
yes,
bells on, right?
yes, yes.
But I think it's important that we continue to talk about it because there's these preconceived notions that like all the academics talk about is that when you have a like male and a female up to each like for the same job.
Mm.
The man is considered for his potential, and the woman, and I would put anyone who is othered in the woman category,
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
only viewed as what they have achieved.
Right.
But
Right.
like this kind of privileged class gets this, oh, you can achieve something more.
Mhm.
Whereas the other's like, what have you done in the past? And
Mm.
defy that. Make yourself the person who can see the future and has potential by talking about what you want your potential to be.
Yes. 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 Yeah. I don't know. I just so many thoughts came through my head when you talked about that. One was just about, for some reason, the criminal system and how I wonder how people are seen in the criminal system of, well, actually, I know how people are seen, but it's the same thing that
Yeah,
you just said, that phenomenon of like, you could be so much more, so we're not going to ruin your life.
right.
You, on
Mm.
the other hand, this is what you've done and this is who you are, and that's all that you'll ever be. Wow. Wow, that part. Um, and then, just the other part is, yeah, how can we challenge ourselves to just break all convention, all of those expectations that are put on us. How do we break through that? I mean, one of the tactics that I have is just to pretend like it doesn't exist. I mean, just
I
sheer
like that.
delusion.
Mhm. Hey,
Just
it
embrace sheer
works.
delusion. It works for me. I mean, it really works for me. People, even when people say things that are negative, I'm just like, "Aw, they must be having a very bad day. I wonder who hurt them."
You
They feel like they have to try to hurt me. Too bad it doesn't work, like just sheer delusion. It works
know.
for me. I love it.
I love this mentality. And I also was thinking about something you said the last time we had lunch, which was when somebody says something, negative about you or describes you in a way that you
Mm.
don't see yourself. You
Mhm.
said, think of that. Wow, you have a really creative
Oh,
mindsets.
yes, that imagination. Oh,
Yes.
yes, that imagination. I mean, it fascinates me, how people get fixated on others because I
Hmm.
I guess I don't do that, and that's been one of my tactics, honestly, this is so silly, but, like, there's so many little sayings that stick with me that just, like, help me push through these different mindsets, and one of them was, like, something so weird that was, I don't even know where I got it, but it was like, small-minded people think about other people, and, like, average-minded people think about current events, and great minds think of, like, systems in the future, or something to that effect. I don't know what
Yeah.
it was, but for some reason that sticks with me. So every time I start thinking about, like, what other people are thinking or doing, I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm not small-minded. That's not for me." Like, I just let it go. I don't
I love
care.
that.
And I'm just like, on to better things, like what bigger things should I be thinking about? And that's it. I just replace that thought. I just notice it, like, oh, this is a small-minded thought. Moving on.
But what I love about this is it's like coming full circle to our conversation because it's you choosing to define how the
Mhm.
world sees you and how you see the
Mhm.
world, right? Like
Yep.
not allowing the world to put its imprint on you on how you should be defined, but allow you to put your imprint on the world on how you are
Yes.
defining yourself. And that's a
Yeah.
huge switch in like how a lot of people think. And it's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yes, yes, yes. And just it's almost like you gotta recognize what people are trying to do, even if they don't recognize what they're trying to do, if that makes sense, right? Like people are
Hmm.
trying to bring you down and not even bring you down, but just relegate you to a certain identity, a certain box, a certain purpose, a certain, existence. And when you just refuse that and decide, no, I am my vision. I am the creator of me, of who I am or will be, right? And you just think about all of these people as just not being able to see it yet. They are
Yeah.
lacking in vision. They are lacking in the creativity that you possess. They are failing to see your potential, and it's about them having that issue and nothing to do with your self-worth or nothing to do with your destiny or your purpose. I think that's another, that's the switch as well. That's the shift in mentality of owning it and knowing that everyone else is just a spectator. in your life story. You're the creator, right? Yeah. They
Yeah, and
don't know the ending yet. They don't know. They're just the audience.
right? And
You're the writer, director, producer, the star, like they're just here watching and let them watch. They're spectators.
and also, it made me think of that analogy of it's not the clothes, it's not you not fitting the clothes, it's the clothes not fitting you, right? Like
Mm,
all
100%
those
that, yeah.
all those memes of this is a size 10 in this brand and this is a size 10 in this brand, and they're vastly different, right? Like, but when we as are trying them on, we're
Ooh,
thinking, oh, I don't fit those.
I
But in
don't I
reality,
I change that language all the time. I correct
yeah,
people on that language all the time, and I very conscientiously, but, like, all the time, where it's just like, "Yeah,
yeah,
I'm too big for this. No, it's too small for
no,
you."
yep,
The clothes are
absolutely.
wrong, yes.
I don't know if, and I think we can all relate to that in like
Yep,
clothing, but
yeah.
let's apply it to everything else because it's true.
Mhm,
It's
mhm,
not about the other thing. It's about you becoming the best version of you, not how that
mm.
other thing fits into your world.
Oh, I love that. Oh my god, yeah, that's gonna be part of my vision, my visions. Because, yeah, like, I've thought about that just recently where I'm just like, I feel so lucky that, this opportunity, for example, fits me so perfectly, where I don't have to, change myself to fit it. It just fits me so well, and it
Yeah,
feels so right, and it's just the right timing, and it's the right people, and it's the right place, and it's the right moment, and it just feels so good. And it's like, finding the perfect pair of jeans where those jeans just hug you in all the right places. Yes, those
mhm,
are your favorite jeans, and it's just so good. And that is really how we should think about everything. Even relationships where it's like, oh, man. Oh, it breaks my heart that so many people try to change themselves to fit somebody else's
oh,
needs. Oh, that
oh,
hurts,
oh,
right?
it does so
Oh, and
much.
I know somebody's going through that right now, and we have to tell you that it's not that. That's not what's supposed to be happening. You're not supposed to be changing yourself. You're supposed to be looking for the right pair of jeans that fits you perfectly in this moment. And not for tomorrow or yesterday, but today, like what fits you. And that's it, like not the other way around. You do not have to fit into those jeans that are 2 sizes too small.
Yeah.
Is not the deal. The deal is you are perfect and
Yep.
you're just looking for the perfect fit in the universe. That's it.
Absolutely. And on that note, I hope all of y'all do everything to talk positively to yourselves so that you can see your own potential and start talking about your dreams and what your goals and what you want to achieve and the person who you want to be. Because there are so many people out there who want to help you and support you, and all it takes is just talking about it.
Yes. And remember that dreaming is free. So dream big.
Yeah. Yes, and for all of that note, we are coming I don't know when y'all are listening, but we're coming up on a new year, so let's all start the new year by thinking of something positive about ourselves and, recognizing something positive in somebody else who we might not otherwise think is a positive, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, that person you didn't know who could help you might actually help you because 'cause you're the one putting that limit on that person.
Yes. Here's to you and to big dreams. Cheers. Happy New Year, y'all. Bye bye.